There seems to be this trend running of trying to make a successful live action adaptation out of some very old, very successful animated projects. And it's one that I, for the most part, just straight up do not like. We have Disney trying to remake their old animated properties, updating them with pointless race swapping and changing core elements to the story that completely defeats the message of the original tale, and therefore destroys any reason why you would want to watch it because it is no longer anything in common with the original. And then you have Netflix with their disastrously bad run of trying to overly westernize anime and try to adapt it into live action. They generally make the same mistakes as Disney, trying to alter the message or the characters too much and alienating the core audience that the series should have attracted in the first place. Yeah, Netflix's track record is not good, especially after botching some very popular stories in the form of Death Note and Cowboy Bebop live action. I mean, those two are basically tales of how activism affects writing, how fan blaming can destroy an entire audience's faith in you, and how the Western entertainment industry just doesn't understand anime and the audience it attracts. To make a very long rant about those short, Netflix did just about everything wrong that they could with those series. So when people found out that there was going to be a One Piece live action adaptation, an adaptation of one of the most beloved manga and anime out there, one that came from the mind of one of the greatest writers and creators of the current era, there was a lot of skepticism coming from its fan base. I don't think the hopes and expectations for this series set a very high bar. So when One Piece live action cleared that bar, by an astounding margin mind you, it became an absolute internet sensation, and even people who don't really care much for anime got into it. But I argue that it's not just the fact that the bar was set so low that everyone thought a mid-show was good. I think this was actually a pretty good adaptation. The One Piece live-action adaptation actually manages to capture most of the magic and whimsy of the original adventure, to a degree where I say that this show was 90% accurate to its original materials. It was fun, and managed to maintain the best moments of the characters in this leg of the story, as well as the actual story itself, in a far more succinct and efficient way than the anime had actually done, which was my big problem with the anime. The actors overall were excellent choices for their characters. I mean, look at Zoro. His martial arts training really shows through as he nails the choreography from his fights. And he actually does feel like a true-to-life Roronoa Zoro. I feel like Luffy and Nami were the least accurate of all the characters in this, but they somehow still managed to be really good and fairly faithful to their original characters. And then you have Morgan Davies, who was the center of a tiny little drop of controversy thanks to bounding into comics, depicting a very good rendition of Kobe. But for as much as I really did enjoy this series, there were some things that felt out of place and some things I didn't like. There's an element of that American Hollywood drama and relationship conflict present in this series that I didn't feel belonged in One Piece. Yes, the crew get upset with Nami when she betrays them, but they don't spend an entire night beefing over things at the Baratie in the anime. It ends up stripping Luffy of some of his character because he starts to, uncharacteristically, waver in his ideals after the duel between Zoro and Mihawk. Luffy is a very self-assured character known for making snap decisions based on almost nothing and never looking back to regret it. He declares war on the entire world, openly brags about being a pirate, and even storms a powerful enemy fortress to save his brother Ace. Luffy isn't someone who gets shaken by Zoro's defeat. He may get worried that his friend might die, but he's not the kind of person to sit there and regret his decision to allow Zoro to pursue his dreams. It took the actual death of Ace right after the loss of his entire crew in order to truly break him to that extent. What it felt like was that the creators were doing an unnecessary amount of work to try and make this series slightly more American to appeal to an audience that they didn't need because this series already had a built-in fan base who love the shit out of One Piece. There's also a touch of that Disney Marvel snark to some of the exchanges and to some of the way they treat each other that just did not feel like it belonged in One Piece. It made Luffy seem less fun, goofy, and charismatic, and more so just annoying. And that really felt wrong, because never once in the anime did I feel that Luffy was an annoying character. In fact, his personality was very charming in the anime. Other changes were the fact that Garp was in the series way too much for the part of the story they covered. He doesn't even really make his big appearance until the end of Water 7 Eni's Lobby, and they sort of deprive some of the shock from that with this move. It also left some holes that they don't seem to see or to think about when it comes to Smoker and Dragon in the upcoming Logtown arc. How will the crew not recognize Dragon as Luffy's father, considering Dragon is so famous? It was when they found out about Garp that they realized Dragon was Luffy's dad. Again, it feels like it's put in there just to add some unnecessary drama that wasn't needed to drive the story. And I really didn't like that, but not so much that it ruined the entire show for me. Overall though, it's whimsical, it's fun, and it is a great time watching it. I had a smile on my face the whole time, and props to Oda for all the work he did keeping these people on a leash. His world building and character development remains so well intact that this series is great, delivering probably the best One Piece experience you should be able to expect out of Netflix, or even the West in general. In spite of the flaws that I have pointed out, the series is still massively fun. There's also subtle little nostalgia trips in there with nods to the original soundtrack, with stuff like We Are being in part of the series at the end of one of the episodes, and Shanks' crew playing Binks Brew. Its wins outweigh its sins so heavily that I've got to admit that this was a massive success for Netflix. The sad reality, though, is that's probably going to lead to other, more disastrous live-action adaptations of anime we love, but that's something I'll cover in the future when it starts to happen. One Piece live action is fun, and it's worth every second you'll spend watching it. If you love the world of One Piece but can't handle the slow episode rollout or the titanic number of 1,000+ episodes you need to watch to catch up, this show might just be for you. If you enjoy good entertainment, this show might just be for you. But hey, you should definitely go experience it for yourself and formulate your own opinions on it. The only thing I can really do on my channel is just give you my own opinion. If you like this video, please like, subscribe. I appreciate the support, and if you have any sort of comments you want to add or things you want to argue with me, go ahead and put them down in the comments. I will most likely see them. I always enjoy being able to engage with people who don't necessarily agree with me on all this stuff. So I will catch you another time. Later.